as a scientist, one of my favorite things in the world is conducting experiments on myself. So tune in to this week's episode of Joyful Eating to discover why I experimented with cutting out green vegetables and the 6 lessons I learned from this craziness. Hi, so welcome to Joyful Eating, episode 178. So today we're talking about why I stopped eating green vegetables. But before we get to that, the best bite I had this week was went out for lunch with my assistant Caroline to one of my favorite local new restaurants, and it's called Such and Such. Shout out to the guys at Such and Such. And we had one of the dishes that we had was this okonomiyaki, which is this Japanese, it's a vegetable pancake, usually mostly cabbage and carrots, and then it's also often has some like kimchi, like some fermented veggies in it as well, and it's kind of cooked in. So it came out as kind of like pizza. Sometimes it's referred to as Japanese pizza, but it's not really pizza because there's no cheese or whatever. But yeah, it's like this flat pancake, and then they'd dolloped on like mayonnaise, Japanese mayonnaise, and there were prawns that had been cooked in that had like some a fermented hot sauce on them that were amazing, and then they'd sprinkled over furikake, which is one of my favorite flavor bombs to season the whole thing. And it was just like every mouthful was just like just this flavor explosion. It was so good. So yes, loving that. Okay, so our plan for today is first I'm going to share the story and the why behind why I stopped eating green vegetables. And then I'm going to share with you my 5 lessons from what I discovered from this experiment. And and then I'm going to give you the new segment that we're doing each week is I'll give you an update on my sprint goal this week. And then we'll wrap it up by sharing your next step. So basically, the story behind why I stopped eating green vegetables is back in April, I finally got myself a new GP. So my old doctor had moved to Tasmania. So, different part of Australia during COVID, and I hadn't got around to getting it. And I was having some like menopause symptoms. So I was like, right, I need to get a good doctor. Anyway, part of my new GP seeing her was that she just did some regular blood tests. And interestingly, I got a call back from her and I was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? And so my liver function test had come back high, and she'd actually, and it had been high for like since the previous blood test that I'd had like 6 months prior. And so she was like, okay, we need to investigate this. So, because I'm like, oh, okay, great. Like, it was kind of crazy because my first thought, I was actually relieved because I was like, okay, it's my liver. And then the other relief was, okay, well, it's not because I've been drinking. And so I was like, I don't know if this is like that's pretty crazy that I'm actually happy about having my liver function not being great because it was like, oh, it wasn't like I haven't been drinking too much. So it's like, oh, phew, I don't have to have that guilt of like drinking too much. But then of course I was like, oh, hang on, but maybe not having a healthy liver isn't probably the best thing. But yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting. So anyway, so of course, she just recommended that we do some follow-up tests and whatever. And of course, I go home and I'm like Googling and getting Dr. Google in the house. And I started to think about, what could be causing like this liver thing. Because one of the things I think that's really important in all of is that we don't just rely on our doctors to be like the be all and end all of our health treatment. And I think because yes, of course they have their expert knowledge, but they don't know your body and your history and all your crazy habits as much as you do. So I think we're in such an amazing time where we do have access, and of course that you can use Dr. Google to your detriment, but it also can be really helpful to just think through things and do a little bit of research and just like kind of take on that problem solving so that you're working with your doctor as a team rather than they're like some expert up on the pedestal that's telling you that their opinion is the only one that matters. Like your opinion really matters in this as well, and I really like to take responsibility for my health as well. So, I was doing some research, thinking about like what could be causing this. Okay, I know it's not because I'm drinking too much, because I've definitely, you know, like you average like probably in the last couple of years, I would average like 2 glasses of wine a week. So I was like, okay, cool. Okay, not alcohol. Not then like it's not obesity, like I definitely don't have that problem. Great. it's not non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Again, that's an obesity thing. So like, cool, okay, this is good, like ruling things out. But then I'm like, what could it be? And and then the other thing that had happened with those blood tests was that my vitamin D level had come back like super high. And so I had been taking vitamin D supplements, and my doctor had said, stop taking vitamin D supplements. I was like, cool. Okay. So I'd done that. And then it just occurred to me that, hang on, in those supplements that vitamin D supplements, I was like, oh, there's also it was an ADK blend. And I'd been taking it for vitamin D, just not, and the thought had crossed my mind that, hang on, vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin, probably not good to have too much of it. But I thought, if they're packaging it up, like the vitamin company are packaging up, maybe everyone needs vitamin A. I hadn't really questioned it, which wasn't such a smart move in hindsight. But anyway, so I was thinking, okay, well, okay, I know that my vitamin D is too high. Maybe it could be vitamin A or K that like maybe they're too high. And so it's like, does high vitamin D cause liver problems? No. Does high vitamin K cause liver problems? No. Does high vitamin A cause liver problems? Absolutely. So it's like, right, okay, cool. So my theory for a while was that my poor liver function test was caused by high vitamin A. And so it's like, right, okay, I'm going to experiment with cutting back on vitamin A. Oh, and at the end, then I also thought, okay, I'm taking these supplements. Where could I be getting too much vitamin A in my diet? And I had a look at like foods rich in vitamins A, and it was like pretty much everything that I eat, like was just on this list. So yeah, eggs, yeah, what else? Eggs were definitely there, like green leafy vegetables, like were there. Gosh, now I'm blanking on what else was high in vitamin A. But anyway, so basically, what Jules eats most of, it was on this high vitamin A list. So I was like, oh my goodness, like it's probably vitamin A. So I was like, okay, well, while I was waiting to get the further testing done by my doctor, I was like, okay, I'm just going to do an experiment and cut back on my vitamin A. So I had this like, okay, I'm going to eat like a low vitamin A diet, which is like so crazy. But anyway, so I was like, I'm going to stop eating green vegetables. And I was just like searching up, figuring out like which protein was lower in vitamin. So beef was lower in vitamin A. You know, I can't remember. Like it's a few weeks ago since I did did this, but I was like, any vegetables with any color in them tend to have vitamin A. So like no tomatoes, uh, no whatever else, peppers, like anyway. So I did this experiment of not having vitamin A in everything, and and so that's why I decided to stop eating green vegetables. So, uh, will I tell you? Will I tell you what the result was? No, let's go through the lessons that I learned, and then I'll tell you where I got to with the experiment. So, I guess the first thing I discovered there's a vitamin A is in everything, so it's really hard to be deficient in vitamin A if you're a human on planet Earth. So that's just a tip for you. Probably don't need vitamin A supplements. Next one is that it can actually be fun to have arbitrary dietary restrictions. So for most people, I think it probably would have been stressful, but I was like, actually taught it, like my mindset was, oh, this is going to be a fun experiment. I'm going to see and so I actually radically changed, like overnight, radically changed, like rather than buying broccoli, I was like, okay, I'm going to get cauliflower. I bought a heap of frozen cauliflower rice because I was like, no frozen spinach for you, Jules. What else did I do? Yeah, like I've got wheat loaf and celeriac and fennel. Like, so I was like, had fun like experimenting with like white vegetables instead of green. Um, so yeah, I actually really enjoyed that. There was one day where I went out with my Irishman to lunch and so I Googled like on the menu, I sussed out what was going to be the lowest vitamin A options, which ended up being steak, which was amazing. He was very happy with that choice. Yeah, but it was like, I actually did enjoy it. Whereas I could have approached it from like this stressful, oh my goodness, I have to change what I eat. Like it could have been this really awful thing, but I actually quite enjoyed the little experiment. That was a lesson that I think can be helpful is like if you are ever in a situation where you do need to either self-imposed or someone else is recommending that you change your diet, you can choose. You can actually choose to see it as actually this could be fun rather than seeing it as something stressful. So that was second lesson. Third lesson is that I love green vegetables and I would eat them even if they weren't good for you. Seriously, like if broccoli was the same nutritional, you know, risk and benefit as bacon, I would still have broccoli on a regular basis. Like I really do love it. So if you're in a place where you're, uh, you have this mindset that that healthy food isn't actually, doesn't taste as good as non-healthy food, like it really challenge that, because it is actually possible to get to a place where, like, if you know how to season and you know how to cook things well, that the broccoli is just as delicious as bacon. Like broccoli can be just as delicious as a donut. And actually for me, where I'm at now, like I would take a big bowl of broccoli, like with a nice tahini sauce or some pesto over a, crappy, stale store-bought donut any day of the week. So yeah, like just I thought that was a really cool discovery. It's like, actually, no, I genuinely really love to eat this stuff. It's not just the health aspect. Okay, then third lesson that I discovered was, yes, be careful with supplements. And it actually was a good, because I used to have the mindset that you don't need supplements. So like we should be able to just get all the nutrients that we need from our diet. And then a few years ago, I decided to change that policy, because I was thinking, well, yes, we can get all the nutrients that we need from our food to survive. But if I really want to thrive, and I have this goal to be living till I'm 122, if I want to achieve my goal of living to 122, do I, you know, like maybe there actually can be some benefits from taking some supplements. So, and then I kind of went a bit too heavy on the supplements, I think. So this was a good reminder to just be really careful with what I am choosing to supplement with. And maybe that's a future podcast episode. I might do an update on my supplement regime now. So yeah, but particularly with particularly with minerals, and particularly with anything that's fat soluble, because like the water soluble vitamins like vitamin C, you're just going to wee out if you have excess. But the things that we actually store in our bodies that we don't just excrete if we have too much of them, that's something to be really mindful of. And then the fifth lesson is just to remember that, like, a good good reminder that, like, not everything is caused, like not every health problem is caused by your diet, and not every problem can be fixed by changing your diet. And so I've actually recently read Charlie Munger, famous investor, his book, and one of his Paul Charlie's Almanac, which is a great read actually. And one of the things he talks about that is like man with a hammer tendency. So if you, like, to a man with a hammer, like every problem is like you're just going to nail like bang it with it like you would a nail. So like I think for me, because I have this background in nutrition, when I'm thinking about health, and because I'm so focused on food, when I'm thinking about health, I often go to, okay, I'll just change my diet and that's going to fix whatever problem is there. And of course sometimes that it will be the case, and there are dietary changes you can make to help your health, like I have with by eating low carb to manage my diabetes. But there will also be a lot of health things that diet, it doesn't play a role in. And so yeah, not everything can be fixed with diet. And the end of the story of my liver function thing was, yeah, it wasn't a diet thing. So I got my vitamin A levels tested. They were normal. I didn't need to have done that crazy experiment, but it was a good story and made for a good podcast episode. And I enjoyed the experiment. So yeah, just for if you are interested in Jules's liver health, it was actually like, it ended up not being, there was like, I had some thing on my gallbladder, which causes your liver function to be higher, like the test results to be higher than normal, but my liver is actually fine and healthy. And the gallbladder thing isn't a problem. So all resolved, no dietary changes required. But yeah, I thought that was like just a fun thing to share, like why I stopped eating green veggies and what I learned. Okay, and so our sprint goal update this week. So my sprint goal that I'm working on this week has been one that I'm repeating one from before, which is to improve my eyesight. So given that I'm in my early 50s, that age-related eyesight decline has been happening for a while. And I actually had a goal to make it to 50 without needing glasses. And I managed to do that with a bit of squinting some of the time. And then what happened was one of my clients from the Naturally Healthy Club, Marissa, she actually shared with me a podcast episode she'd done with this guy, Nathan Oxen. Feld is his name, and he's written a book called Give Up Your Glasses for Good. He has a YouTube channel, and basically, like, he that opened me up to this idea that actually it is actually possible to reverse age-related, like, eyesight decline, and that you actually it is possible to train your eyes. So even with the you know, what's the word? Even with the loss of vision that happen, lots of flexibility of the lens that happen, iris, whatever happens during aging, it's actually possible to train your eyes, to your brain, to see without needing glasses, basically. So you can actually reverse that change so that you can still see and live and function without needing glasses. So I was like, this is really cool. I'm going to experiment with that. And so I actually read, I got Nathan Oxenfield's book, and that he's a bit too, because he looks at, like, people with all sorts of eyesight problems, helping them see without glasses. And I was getting a bit overwhelmed with it. And he actually mentions that he learned this from a guy called William Bates. And he had a book called Better Eyesight Without Glasses. So I read that last year, and the I went straight to the chapter on, I can't remember what the word is, but the age-related eyesight decline. And basically, like, the nutshell, the lesson from it was that our eyesight is kind of like a muscle, and that we can strengthen that muscle. So it's kind of like as our age, like, as of course, like our physical muscles, like as we age, they decrease, but we can build them up by doing, lifting heavy things and doing resistance training. We can do the same thing with our eyesight. So what he recommended was just like practice reading the smallest font you can read on the regular basis. And so when I first read that, I was like, right. And so since then, I've been practicing reading really small font. So, and my favorite is like just on that the Kindle app on my phone, just like putting the settings of that onto the smallest font size. And then I was amazed that actually when I chose to, I could actually read that. So that's, long story to say, that that's been my sprint goal this week, is to actually get into the habit of practicing, because it's like exercises, like you can do it, like, so you can do it for a while, but then you need to keep doing it to keep that eye strength happening. And so I got out of the habit of doing it. So my sprint goal this week was to just get back into the habit of reading my fine print every day. And so the tiny habit that I've been working on for this week around that is, after I finish dinner, like, and sit back down at the dining table with a cup of tea, just to open my the Kindle app on my phone and read. My minimum requirement is that I read at least one word. So, and there have been some days where I've been like, oh, I've still got to, get school lunches ready and whatever. I haven't had a lot of time, so I have just read the one word, but I've kept the habit alive. And then, of course, if I have more time, then I read a couple of pages of the whatever book I'm reading at the moment. And happy to say, reporting on my sprint goal, is that I have done it every day for the week. So I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, that's my sprint goal update. And I feel like my eyesight has improved from doing that. So yeah, just thought I would mention that in case you're interested. And I'll put some links in there to those books in the resources. So if you want to check them out, if you are interested in improving your eyesight without glasses, that's definitely, like, there's a whole world out there that you can explore. So that's it for today. So your next step is, don't forget to tell a friend, as Eminem would say, about the Joyful Eating podcast if you've enjoyed Joyful Eating. And all the other news is I'm going to be opening up applications for the Naturally Healthy Club in the next couple of months. So if you would have any interest in changing your relationship with food and your body, and getting to a better place with your weight, then definitely get on the wait list for that, because the last group sold out. So have a fantastic week, and I'll catch you next week.